George, thank you very much for the time and congratulations on a great career and today's announcement.
Thank you.
Why did you decide today to announce your retirement?
Well, like every good thing has an end, and we were trying to have that fight with Khabib Nurmagomedov, but unfortunately, UFC have other plan for him, and it's all good. Where I am in my career, if I make an analogy, before I was on the bottom, I didn't have anything, so I was ready to fight anybody at any time, any place, because anything that I could have achieved would make me climb. Now I'm more on top, and I look down, and there's only a few things that can happen to elevate me, and that can excite me. So I think it was a perfect timing.
When did you start trying to get the Khabib fight? How long were you working on that?
It was we start thinking about it before the fight with Conor McGregor, because we start talking before the fight he had with Conor, and after the fight with Conor, the whole thing happened, the whole drama, unfortunately. We were trying to make that happen. That was the legacy fight.
And in terms of your discussions with the UFC, your management's discussions with the UFC,
yeah. It's more my management.
Sure.
It's not me who discuss, but yeah.
How far along did the talks get?
They try to talk about if I fight Khabib at 155 for a title, then they say, okay, no title, catch weight. They try every avenue possible, but UFC categorically refuse the idea of me fighting Khabib, because they had other plan for Khabib. And it's normal, he's a young guy, he's a young prodigy, he's undefeated. He seems, basically he's the perfect fighter. He's like the invincible guy right now. He's a guy to beat, If you want to have a guy who's like the scariest guy to fight right now, it's him, So he's the man right now.
You're incredibly popular, he's incredibly popular, you have an amazing record, he's undefeated. Why were they not interested in this fight?
I'm not a specialist in business, but I think it's an unwilling risk they want to take, because I'm older. It's maybe my last fight. It could have been my last fight. Right now I take one fight at a time. And interesting of taking a fight with the guarantee that if I win, I have to do something else. I'm not at that place in my career and my life right now. And him, he's younger. He represents an investment. I'm the past. He's the present. He's the main guy. He can help the UFC to rise, to reach different part of the world in terms of popularity. And I think they're very aware of it. And it's fighting. It's a sport that everybody can lose at any given day. Nobody's invincible. Even though you seem invincible, nobody's invincible. And I think maybe it was a risk that they were not willing to take business-wise.
When did you get the final word that this was not going to happen? And then, of course, you decide to retire on this Thursday. So what's the timeline?
A few weeks ago, okay. My agent, they said, we tried so many times, and they're not interesting. But it's okay. I'm not angry, because there was always going to be another guy and another guy and another guy. I think maybe it's a good thing. Maybe sometime maybe in the future, I'm going to look back at this, and I'm going to be like, man, it's a good thing I didn't take that fight. I would have get my ass kicked, or for any reason, maybe if I would have taken that fight, with the stress, I would get sick, or because what I'm most worried about in terms of health issue for me, it's not the impact, the brain damage in my case, it's not. Most fighter it is, but in my case, that's not that. It's more that the fact that when I get ready for a fight, it takes a lot out of me in terms of stress, in terms of anxiety. Just in my last fight, I developed ulcer colitis. It's a condition caused mainly genetic, but mostly by stress. And I think maybe if I would have taken another fight, it would get worse. So who knows? We don't know.
How much did the colitis play into this decision as well?
It play also the fact that I realized that I'm a human being. I'm not, this is everything we have in life. It doesn't last forever. Everything, health, people, material, everything we have, it doesn't last forever. So I realized that and I know that we need to be able to release everything, because at one point we all die, it's all gone. But in health, is the same thing, you know. I'm in good shape, but I'm getting older and older and older, and even though I feel I'm at my best right now, because as a fighter, you have your physicality and your knowledge, because knowledge is a weapon. I feel I'm at the top of my top right now. Knowledge will always increase with age if I stay surrounded into a mixed martial art business, but my physicality at one point will start to diminish. And I feel now I'm at my best, but who knows? The last person to know, it's the fighter himself.
When you walked away from the sport in 2013 after your win over Johnny Hendricks, you always refused to say the R word. You never wanted to say retirement, retiring. We tried to get you to say it. You always left that door open. How difficult was it to actually say it today?
It was very difficult. It takes a lot of discipline. When I retire, I did not retire. When I stopped against Johnny Hendricks, because I had a lot of issue because of the performance enhancing drug problem. And I had to talk with UFC about it for long time. I keep it in behind closed door. Now I became public. You know, I was concerned by this problem for a long time, even before the fight, and it exploded out. One thing I regret, I should have made it public before that. Maybe I would not have taken that layoff, but everything happened for a reason, and you know, I refused to say the retirement word because I knew I was not going to retire. I was ready to come back when things would change, and I did.
And then saying it actually today, were you emotional at all? You put on a brave
face. It's hard. No, I'm not emotional. For me, it's an happy day. It's a very happy day. It's a good story that starts from the bottom and go up, and it's a very nice ending. And if you look at the career of most boxer and fighter in full contact sport, it doesn't have a nice ending. A lot of guys, they take too many fights, and most people should retire when they're on top. I mean, everybody should retire when they're on top. That's the only way people should retire, is when they are on top. All these extra fights that you take, it takes damage on your brain, physique, and also the stress of the fight. You know, it takes a lot out of you, and we know now that stress is the cause of many diseases, and that was my main concern. So now I'm relieved of all that.
As you know, also the fight game is filled with guys who announce their retirement and they come back, and they announce and they come back. Floyd Mayweather has done it many a times, just to name one. Do you know for sure that this is the end? Will you never fight again?
Listen, you never say never for anything, but who knows? Like in a movie scenario, one day maybe I'm gonna be fishing, and then the phone will ring, and Dana will call, "Hey George, are you interested in fighting this guy?" I'll be like, "Eh? Hell yeah, I'm taking that out." You know, maybe it will excite me, but right now it's not the case. I'm out of the grid. I'll be always gonna be close to UFC. UFC is a family for me. It allowed me to have the lifestyle that I have now, and I'll be close to the fans. Thanks to the fans, because if I have what I have today, is because of the fans and the UFC. And I'll be, you know, in many events, you know, to be implicated with the organization.
Okay, so you mentioned the organization. It seemed, beginning with that moment in Las Vegas when you walked away after the Johnny Hendricks fight, that your relationship with Dana White deteriorated. He was upset that you walked away, and over the years, it didn't seem like he kept saying, this is a guy who doesn't want to come back. He wants to, you know, keep the sponsors on board. I understand you spoke to him yesterday.
Yeah, I spoke to him, but I walked away. I did not walk away the right way when I did it against Johnny Hendricks. I should have done it in a different ways, and I did not do it the right way. I was very emotional, and when you're emotional, sometimes you make wrong decision. I didn't make a logic decision, and it would have been a protocol to follow that I should have done. And
so what should you have done?
I should have announced it, and basically when I fought Hendricks, if he didn't want to make the test, the performance enhancing drug test, I should have just refused the fight. And that's one thing I regret a little bit, as I should have stand up for my idea and not get intimidated by the power of UFC, and I did not do it. And that's why when you have guys like Khabib and Conor, they stood up for themselves. It inspired me, and I think it's very nice, you know, because at the moment I did it. Another moment, I stood up, but in that moment I should have done it. But I was in a place that a lot of people live with me, you know, like in terms of money. I you know, like I have a big impact on a lot of people's life, and I felt like I couldn't do it at the time, but I should have done it. You know, I should have. You know what? Don't want to do it, but I'm gone. Take the belt and go, and I did not do it, and I regret a little bit. You know, I should have said it. Of course, there is ways to protocol. I should have mentioned it before, and that's how I should have done things. Not do it after a fight with a bad speech at the end with emotion. It was bad, and I regret it a little bit.
Is that the biggest regret of your career?
Not the biggest regret of my career. My biggest regret of my career would be my losses, of course, because I'm a proud guy. I would love to have a perfect record, like Khabib, for example, his perfect record. That would be my main thing. I've never been able to achieve, but yeah, I'm not perfect. I make many mistakes. I try to always improve myself, and if I would have to do it again, that's how I would have done it.
How was your conversation with Dana yesterday, and how would you describe your relationship now?
Dana is a friend of mine, and I told him, I said, look, now it's all business aside. Business create tension in between us, and it's okay because he worked for the best of his interests for the UFC. I work for the best of mine. Now it's all gone. If something we want to do together, we do it. If we don't want to do, one of us just say we don't want to do it. It's nothing personal. So it's all good for me. We had a good talk. We laugh. We talk about the good old days, and he told me that he's happy that I retire in a way. He's sad, but he's happy because nobody retired at the right moment, and the fact that I'm able to do it, he's very happy.
You have mentioned several times that going out on top means a lot to you because, again, in the fight game, it rarely happens. Lennox Lewis did it, but you can count them probably on one hand.
Lennox Lewis, Joe Galzaghe, there's only a few guys.
Right.
It's hard to mention. I need to think about it, you know.
Is this something that you've thought about from the early days of your career? Basically, when I make it to the top, that's when I'm going to walk away. Yes. I don't want to be like those other guys who stayed too long.
There's two schools of thought. Some guys, they say that you should pass the torch. Some say that you have to retire on top. When you're in a sport that it's a full contact sport, you know, I think you need to be selfish, you know, because every bad decision that you take will have an effect on your lifestyle and your health. And if I think about me, myself, my friend, my family, I cannot be only selfish, and I have to think about that and make the right decision, you know, to retire when I'm on top, you know. And some other guy, they say, oh, you should pass the torch, you know. I respect both decisions, but I mean, I choose this one. And I think that's, for a fighter, especially in our business, that's how things should be done. Retire on top, guys. If you listen to me, you're a fighter, retire on top. The last person to know when it's time to retire is the fighter himself, because we always believe, oh, we can do one more, and it will always be one more and one more. There's always going to be another guy that's going to challenge you, and I'm a very proud person, so I'm inside, it gets me. I'm like, he deserved it, but you have to stop sometimes.
A friend of yours, the boxer Adonis Stevenson, suffered a life-altering injury as a result of damage he took in a fight not that long ago. How much did that affect you, seeing what happened to him?
This was more, I believe, like a freak accident, you know, but we're aware of it as a competitor in a full contact sport, that this thing can happen. It's a risk that we're willing to take. It's not only in mixed martial arts, it's in boxing too. It's also in football. In all full contact sport, this can happen. Fighting is not a game. It's not. We can say we play football, we play hockey, we play golf. We don't play fighting. This is the dangerous business that we live in. That's why taking the right decision at the right time, retire on top, is very takes a lot of courage, takes a lot of wisdom to do. It's very hard. That's why only a few people can do it.
You've had many great moments in the UFC, in the sport. Is there one that stands out, your favorite moment of all time?
It's a good question. I have many good moments. My favorite moment of all time was when I was able to avenge my loss against Matt Serra in Montreal, because I had to come back from a very hard obstacle for me. Losing to Matt Serra, I was humiliated psychologically, not that much physically, but psychologically. To come back from that loss, it was very hard just to walk in public and to know that everybody saw me being humiliated because I'm a very proud guy, it was very hard for me. And for me, my pride, it's my biggest friend and my worst enemy. And overcome that, it was very hard. And fighting in Montreal in front of all my fans and my family for the first time, UFC came in Montreal, it was just amazing and a very electric atmosphere.
You also mentioned rebounding from the head kick from Carlos Condit here in Montreal as one of your proudest moments. And I think a lot of people would be surprised to hear that. Why?
In a fight, my proudest moment is when I get kicked by Carlos Condit in a fight, I was able to overcome, to come back. And the reason why I came back is because the knowledge that I gained from my loss to Matsura. When I get hit with Matsura and I lost to Matsura, my pride, which once again, my biggest friend and my worst enemy, because I got hit and I got stunned, I was angry. I wanted to give it back to him right away, so I get back into a stupid slugfest with him, even though I was stunned. When I got hit by Carlos Condit, I had this flashback that what happened with Matsura, and I fall, and I'm a proud guy, I fall on my butt. I'm like, damn, I fall on my butt in front of everybody, I need to stand up. And then I'm about to stand up and say, wait a second, if I stand up and I go back into the fight immediately, I might get knocked out, because I remember what happened with Matsura. So the loss that I had with Matsura allowed me to win the fight with Carlos Condit, because I knew that if I stand up, I will get knocked out, so I should accept the fact that I got stunned, accept it, and look bad for a second and step on my ego and protect myself. In the guard, use the shield technique, protect myself, weather the storm, then come back up. And that's why it makes me very happy, and this is my proudest moment in my career, because it proved that I am evolved, that I improve, not only physically but psychologically as a martial artist.
A lot of people, including myself, consider you the greatest of all time, the greatest MMA fighter of all time. Do you agree?
I don't think so. So greatest of all time, it's something that does not exist. It's for me, the greatest of all time, it's Royce Gracie. I don't mean Royce Gracie will beat all the guy in UFC nowadays. And the greatest of all time doesn't have really a meaning, because the fighter of tomorrow are better than the fighter of today, and the fighter of today are better than the fighter of yesterday. Guys that when I used to compete, guys were good. Guys of today are probably better. It depends on exception, but generally speaking, if you look at all sport that we can record, for example, the weight, for example, Olympic lifting or running, sprinting, we know that with times, performance get better. Athlete doesn't get better, but because of the technology, the performance get better. So the fighter of yesterday are good, but the one of today are better, and the one of tomorrow will be even better, and the one of after that will be even better. So greatest of all time, I think if you mean in terms of the time that he compete, that the guy that was able to do the greatest thing, the greatest achievement for his time so far, I believe it's Royce Gracie. That's why he's the best of all time, the greatest of all time, for me, in my book.
A couple of years ago, you were very vocal about fighter rights and perhaps starting a union.
Yeah.
That has not been a part of your story as much lately. Yeah. Now that you are retiring, is this something that you want to rekindle?
I think I don't want to make enemy, but I think this will happen. It's just a matter of time. It was maybe not the right timing with the right people when we try to make it, but it will happen in the future. Like any other sport, the history of sport is written like that. When a sport gets big, at one point, this thing happen, and I think it will happen. It's just a matter of time.
Would you like to be a part of that?
I would love to, if I can help the fighters and the organization in the same time, and the sport to improve. I will be glad to do it. I'm always gonna be for the fighters and the condition, the right condition, and for the rightness of things need to be done the right way.
In 50, 60 years, how do you want people to remember Georges St-Pierre? What do you want your legacy to be in this sport?
There's 4 things that I want to be remembered for. If I would have been a professor, I would like to be the best professor. If I would become an engineer, I would like to be the best engineer, but I'm a fighter. I wanted to become the best fighter. That was my dream. And I become champion. I'm very happy. Also, I wanted to do something that changed the game. I want to remember as the guy that changed the sport. And I try my best to improve performance enhancing drug testing. Also, I wanted to be known as a good role model, to have an impact on youth that look up to fighters in a positive way. And one thing I wanted to do, it's also retire at the right time. Not to be told to retire or to be forced to retire when I'm on top. And I think I achieved 4 of those things, and I'm very happy.
I remember at Madison Square Garden, after you beat Michael Bisping, you stayed in the cage a little longer and you sort of took it all in, you digested it, you
Yes.
acknowledged the crowd. Did a part of you know that maybe that would be your last fight?
I didn't know for sure, but I had a big problem into that fight. I had like a ulceritis, and it was very bad. My health condition was bad, and I didn't know I didn't know what it was at the time, because I had like all the symptoms, but I didn't have been diagnosed. I was like, man, is it cancer or whatever? It was so bad. It was a lot of blood. So I looked, because I was like, I didn't know what it was, but I wanted to do that fight for at least one more fight, whatever it was. So that's why I was looking. I was like, man, if it's the last moment, I need to to take it as as it is, to cherish the moment, and that's how it happened. That's why I did that.
You've talked about detesting fight day and detesting the fight. You like the process, you like the camaraderie, you like the training, but the actual fight is something, the fight day is something that you dread. How can you be so successful? How can you win 26 times and accomplish everything you accomplish when you actually hate the end result of the entire process?
Oh, I hate fighting. It's true. It's very hard to explain. In your job, in everybody's job, if I can make an analogy, there's no perfect job. Everybody's job is not perfect. Maybe you like your job more or less. I love my job. However, there's 365 days in a year. Normally, when you're active and you're champion, you fight maybe twice a year. So there's 2 days in a year that you really hate. If you make a percentage of that equivalent to less than 1% of the of the day, it's a pretty good average. Most people they dislike more than 10% of their job. If you dislike only 1% of your job, for example, it's a pretty good thing. That means your job you're at the good place in your life. And for me, that's what it is. I hate the fighting. I hate fighting. I fight only because I have to, because give me the right to pursue what I love to do every day of my life. It give me the freedom. It give me my freedom, be able to train, to stay in shape, have a good life condition, access of things that normal people doesn't have access, the camaraderie, with my friend and all my trainer. That's what I will miss, and I will not really miss it because I still have it in training, but in training camp, this feeling of camaraderie, like a team going to war. This is fun. Just the stress of the fight, the closer it gets, it's unbearable. It's terrible. I was doing it just because I needed to do it in order to pursue my lifestyle, and I was just very gifted at it, and I was good at it. That's why I was able to do it.
So you've been a fighter for 17 years now, a pro fighter for 17 years. I know you're going to keep training. You're not going to eat a lot of poutine and get fat.
I will eat a lot of poutine, and I always eat a lot of poutine, but I'm not going to get fat because I train all the time.
What is your job going to be like in a year from now? Like, what do you want to do with your life now?
I'll be training all the time with the same thing. I don't even need to work if I don't have to, but I have investment. I have different company. I have a equipment company. I have a different company I'm involved with. And I have real estate, everything. I'll be busy. I teach seminar. I'm gonna help the young guys too. I'll be involved with the UFC, so you'll see me around. I have a lot of opportunity. Could be for movies that I refused because I was too busy. I was focusing at one thing at a time, and we'll see. It's a new chapter in my life. That's why it's excited for me. It's unknown. If I would have known everything, I would not be excited. So I'm very excited.
My final question is, your head coach, your longtime head coach for Zahabi, told me just moments ago that this is a storybook ending. And I was wondering if I would have talked to that Georges St-Pierre in 2002, that in 17 years, you would walk away from the sport, champion in 2 weight classes, greatest welterweight champion of all time, considered by many the greatest of all time, 26-2, avenge both your losses, an icon, Canadian icon, international icon. Would you have believed me? Would you have believed this story would end up the way it did?
Uh, I don't want to sound arrogant, but I think yes, I would. Yeah, the moment I see Royce Gracie, the first UFC, I knew right away that's what I wanted to do, and that's what I wanted to become. I didn't know for sure that I would become world champion. I didn't know, but I had a dream. And I think as Einstein he said, is dream is the most important thing. It's more important than creativity. That's what keep people going. And I had a dream. As long as you have a dream and you hold on to it and you make the right decision, that you follow the right grid to achieve it, because it's not a straight line. You know, sometimes you go through obstacle, many failure. There's many failure in life. You know, it sounds weird to say because I don't lose many time in the gym, but if you see me in practice, I tap many times, I get hit many times, I lose rounds many times because I go up against guys that are better than me in different disciplines. It's a very humbling experience, martial art. It makes you humble, but you need to be willing to take yourself out of your comfort zone in order to achieve that goal. And I've always been able to do that. I had the strength in myself to do it. It was hard because I'm a proud guy. I don't like to lose, but life, that's how life is, you know. And martial arts, it's a good representative of life, you know. You cannot start right away and be good. You need to learn the hard way and work your way up, and that's how it is for me.
I once read an article about Patrick Roy, the great goalie of the Canadiens, and how his success led to all these young kids growing up and trying to emulate him, and now you're seeing these kids in the NHL. They are products of his success, right?
Yeah.
And I hope you realize that there's a lot of fighters to come that are a product of your success. And if you can allow me to say, I am a product of your success, because when I saw you win at UFC 65 and become champion as a Montrealer, it inspired me to want to cover this sport for a living. So I just want to thank you for everything that you did for this city and this country and for the sport, because I don't think there will be another one like you.
Oh, well, thank you, Ariel. Thank you to all my fans, everybody watching. Family, of course, UFC, all my friends too that support me, that have been there with me. You only have you know, no matter how popular you are, how much of a celebrity you are, you know, big or small, no matter who you are, you only have a handful amount of friends that you can count on you, one end of your one end, you know, on your finger of your hand. And the same thing for me. I'm no difference, even though my circle is big, I know a lot of people. I don't have only a few friends, and I want to say thank you all my friends and everybody for the support. Thank you, Ariel.